Hi guys. By now you're becoming experts on the moon. You already know that the moon circles the earth and that it doesn't have its own source of light. Any part of the light we see coming from the moon is actually just the moon reflecting back light from the sun. You've just watched a Brain Pop video, and in that Brain Pop video, Moby talks about the phases of the moon. And what that means is the phases, or the lunar phases, is the amount of the moon we can see on Earth depending upon how much of it is lit up by the sun. And that amount changes every single day. The phases of the moon depend on the moon's position in relation to the Earth and the sun. We're going to do an activity today to understand the names we give to those different phases. The phases are named after how much of the moon is being reflected, how much we can see, and whether the moon is getting bigger or if the moon is getting smaller. So for this activity, you're going to have this activity sheet. Yours is blank. You can go on to the draw tool and do this on your tablet or on your laptop. That's fine. I printed mine out and colored it in with my crayon, whatever is easiest for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw the different phases of the moon. We're going to talk through it right now. And then you're going to do something exciting. So you start with the new moon. The new moon means that the sun is here, the earth is here, and the moon is right between it. So any light that the sun is hitting onto the moon is going right back to it. We can't see any of it, so it looks dark in the sky. We don't see any moon that night. So I colored my new moon all dark. We don't see any light being reflected back. Then as the moon starts to move, we start to see a little bit of the light reflected again. And what we see is a little crescent of it. This is called a crescent shape. And that's the part of the sunlight reflecting that we can see. The rest of the moon is dark, so I colored it in dark, but we can start to see a little bit. We call it a waxing crescent because waxing means that the amount of light we're seeing is getting bigger. We're seeing more of the moon. As the moon continues to move, we now see about half of the face. Half of the face we can see, half of it is still dark. It's called a quarter because it's a quarter of the whole globe, but we're calling it, we can see half. Then the moon continues to move. We see even more of the light reflecting back, and this is called the waxing gibbous. That means we're seeing almost the whole face of the moon, but there's still a portion that's being blocked that we can't see. That's still my dark bit. And then we can see a full moon. That means that the sunlight was reflecting the whole face of the moon back to us, and that's full. Last week we saw a super full moon, which meant the moon was very close in its rotation to us, and we saw all the light reflecting back. As that moon starts to move again, though, some more of the earth starts to block it, and it starts to only show us so much of the face. That's called the waning gibbous. Waning means the moon is getting smaller. The amount of light we can see is getting smaller. And again, the moon continues to move, and we now see only half of that face. It's getting darker again. Here's that more of that darkness coming back. We only see half the light reflected. And then finally, you get to the waning crescent, which means most of the light we can't see, we can only see a sliver. So now that we understand the lunar phases, this is where it gets exciting. You're going to need your Oreos. So you take your Oreo and very carefully see if you can pry it apart. And what I did, oops, that's okay if that happens. You did take the broken part over here. You're going to need a spoon or a popsicle stick, and you're going to make each phase of the moon with your Oreo. So for my new moon, you're going to scrape off all of, I should have gotten a bowl, but that's okay. I'll put it in a bowl later for the next parts. Scrape off all of it, the dark bit. It's broken. That's going to happen with Oreos. Don't worry about it if it does. Put mine together, flip it over, and there you go, my new moon. You can't see any light on it. Now, you got to get another Oreo. You're going to really carefully break it apart. And what you're going to do is I'm going to try to make a waxing crescent. So that crescent's just a little bit of white. So I'm going to kind of scoop very gently, scoop off the parts of the Oreo that I don't want. Now remember, the Oreos break really easily. So all you have to do is, if it breaks, just gonna put it together. It doesn't have to be perfect. Scoop it all off again. Wish I had that bowl. I'm gonna put it down here. There's my part. Scrape it off like this. Oh, Mrs. Startup, you're making a mess. And I've got my waxing crescent made out of Oreo. And then you get another Oreo. You very carefully take it apart. And this time I'm doing my first quarter. Quarter, it's actually half of the face of the moon. So cut it off, there's my half, and put it down. And you're gonna do that for every stage of the moon phases. And then at the end, this is the part you have to tell your mom or your dad, you have to tell them, it's a rule. You have to eat the Oreos. It's just the way it goes. I've even put instructions for you to please take a picture Once you've completed this task, I can't wait to see it, and I hope you have fun. Take care. Bye.